We just recently returned from a 7-day cruise on the Sun Princess.
Yes, you heard us right. The Sun Princess. This is the ship that came out last February. Has been in the Mediterranean. It was delayed coming out. Parts of the ship weren't even finished when they started sailing. They then revamped and moved all the restaurants around in the last couple of months as the ship came over to North America. And we're on the latest version. So we're going to go through bit by bit through the ship and explain what we liked, what we didn't like. And we're going to cover the big items like food, entertainment, ship layout, and all that stuff about cruising that we like to know about before we get on a ship. So we've got 4 main categories, and what we're going to do is we're going to give you our thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether or not we like those major categories, and at the very end we're going to summarize whether or not we would go on this ship ever again.
All right.
And we don't know what each other's answers are, so I'm curious to see what it is. So
okay.
We are going to first start with the design of the ship. It's a different layout, it's a different class of ship than Princess has ever had. And so I guess based on first impressions of being on the ship, what do you think of this new design? Do you like it? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
It's also the largest Princess cruise ship. I'm giving it a thumbs up.
I'm giving it a thumbs down.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we don't agree on much. All right, let's hear your reasons, or should I start?
Let's start with the most new spectacular feature, I think, of this ship, which isn't just the sphere in the middle of the ship, but I think it's that dome that's up top on the front of the ship.
Yes, and so that's part of the reason, or the main reason why I gave it a thumbs up, was I absolutely fell in love with the dome. It is a beautiful spot in the day to relax and just enjoy that cruise life with the sea sailing, cruising by you, reading a book and a nice comfy lounger. There's a great little pool there that's half indoors, half outdoors, hot tubs up there, bars, restrooms. All that you need is right there at your fingertips. And I don't feel like it ever felt overcrowded during the day when we were up there, and so it was very enjoyable for me.
And I'll give it to you that the dome was an impressive space. In fact, not just the dome, but also the sea view area and the seating area that's in front of the dome that's outside.
Right. Exactly.
They kind of have this inside-outside concept, which the swimming pool kind of connects the two spaces, and it's a pretty special spot, especially on a day where you're at a port. At sea days, it can get pretty windy out there, but I found during the port days, it was a great space to sneak back from port and enjoy while everybody's still off the ship.
Yeah. And it gave you both the indoor and outdoor option, which I loved. So depending on what your weather, you could, hop back and forth. So there were times that we were outside, and there were times that we were inside on our 7-day voyage. If it got too hot to be outside, we could come back in to under the dome where it was air conditioned and you can cool down.
Okay, so the Sun Princess definitely has a different layout than other Princess ships. We're used to having that deck 7 that runs from end to end. There's lounge at one end, there's a theater at the other end, and things are kind of around the piazza. It's similar, but it's definitely not the same.
Yeah, so the biggest change I think I noticed when it came to layout would be the location of the buffet. Instead of being right at the top on like deck 14 or 15 like most Princess ships, it's down on deck 9.
Yep.
And that just sort of threw us for a loop, I guess.
Yeah, a bit of a disconnect for me, especially if I want to go out and grab something at the burger bar and the grill and then go into an air-conditioned space to have my lunch. I would have to go down like several floors to do that if I wanted to go to the buffet. So a little bit of a down for me.
See, and so the other part of that too is just prior to getting into the buffet at the midship, you're going to find the International Cafe. That's also on deck 9. So those are 2 major changes for me. And when I heard about them prior to going on it, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to like that International Cafe right outside of the eatery where the buffet is. But it actually worked really well for me because I was able to go to the International Cafe, grab my specialty coffee, and then walk into the buffet right there and have my breakfast.
And as much as I don't like the buffet down at deck 9, I'd rather have it Lido deck. I will give Princess credit in this design of ship on the Sun Princess that there was a promenade area that was outside of the buffet, the eatery they call it. Mm-hmm. And on that promenade, you had a burger place, you had a bar place, you had a pizza slice place. There was different outdoor. Ice cream. Yeah, so there was options available for food that were outside that were part of the buffet space as well. So I guess that's good. We're going to talk a little more about food when we get to that point, but that's just kind of a design difference on this ship. And another thing is, in this design change, there's a lot of specialty dining, but there's also a new type of sanctuary. So you can't go and rent time, a day, or a cabana at the sanctuary, that you have to be in a certain sanctuary suite.
Yeah, so that is definitely a negative in my opinion. We loved the option of being able to have it for a half a day or a whole day if we weren't going to get off at port at one spot and sort of treat ourselves to a day at the sanctuary. That's no longer an option unless you only have access to that area if you're in a suite.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that the different types of fares that people are paying on the ship is really starting to break the ship apart. This new ship that you've got, some people can only go into some parts of the ship that have the standard fare, and they're not going to have, say, all the specialty dining included, like Premier would.
Yeah.
And then even the people in the Premier that they can't pay extra and they go to the Sanctuary, that it's all different people that can go to different parts of the ship.
Yeah, I feel like Princess has sort of taken a page out of some of their competitor cruise lines like Norwegian and MSC, where they have this sort of ship within the ship concept going on.
Yep.
And I was never a fan of that. So yeah, that bothers me a little bit, I guess, because I want to be able to do it all and still be in my interior room to save money.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of doors and gates that don't let me go to parts of the ship. I want to be able to explore the whole ship, and I can't do that on this ship.
Yeah, that's true. There is that.
There's been a change with the elevators as well, so let's talk about that.
Smart elevators. So we were concerned about the smart elevators because we have cruised with two other different cruise lines that have smart elevators, and they didn't seem to appear to be very smart on our first two experiences. But I have to say, Princess had plenty of elevators, in my opinion, and they truly were smart. They seemed to work efficiently. Often you pressed what floor you wanted to get into, and it was just you, maybe another couple. Maybe if you're at a port of call and everybody's getting on, you might have a bit of a fuller elevator. But I thought they worked really well.
Yeah, I have to agree that I went in thinking I'm not going to like these elevators. I'll be honest, that I was going in kind of negative about these elevators and was really impressed with how well they worked, how quickly we got between all the floors. And the only downside to the elevators is that they've changed how they're located. That Princess ships typically had elevators that were between all the different walking spaces, and you went to go to the elevator, and that was the only reason you were in that space.
Yeah.
And now you walk through the elevators, they're like thoroughfares to get to other parts of the ship, and they're also elevator spaces.
Definitely at the forward of the ship. Yeah, you're right. The one thing I will want to say about the elevators, though, is a little tip. If you've never cruised on a cruise line where you have smart elevators, you have to press the floor you want to go to with however many people is in your group. So if you want to go to deck 9 and you have 5 people with you, you have to press number 9 5 times. That's how the elevator becomes smart, so it knows how much space it needs to have for you to get in it with your party.
And aesthetics around the ship, what do you think? That's more your game than my game.
Oh, it's a beautiful ship, I will say. Beautiful ship. Lots of different decor elements throughout. Some comfy seats, some maybe prettier seats and not so comfy, but overall I thought the decor was very, very nice and modern. It wasn't loud and overbearing. It was just simple but classy.
And a couple other things, and part of the reasons I gave thumbs down to the overall ship design, and we're going to talk more about this in entertainment in a little more detail, but the theater has changed. It's still in the same spot. It's much smaller, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
They call it the Princess Arena now. They don't even call it a theater. So that should have been our first clue that it was going to be drastically different than any theater that we've ever cruised on with Princess.
And the other change that was made is the piazza is now even bigger. They've even added stadium seating built into the piazza.
Yes.
So we're going to talk more about that when we get to entertainment, about how that impacts how the ship feels when you're on board.
Right.
So that's it for design. So the next category we're going to talk about is the cabins. We spend a lot of time in there, at least some people do, sleeping on the balcony, changing, that type of thing. We don't spend a lot of time in our cabins, but we certainly appreciate a well laid out, well thought out cabin.
For sure.
What do you think? Cabins for you, is that a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
I was very concerned, but I have to say I've got to give it a thumbs up.
I'm going thumbs up too.
I really thought that I was going to get on this new style of Princess ship and say, oh no, they took away my walk-in closet and I'm not happy. But I am very happy to report that now we were only on it for a 7-day cruise. I'm not quite sure what it would look like if I had 21 days worth of clothing there. But I had plenty of hangers, didn't have to ask for extra hangers. I had plenty of room to hang up all our clothes. And they've actually given us a lot more drawers and cupboards and shelving space than when you just had the walk-in closet. And so in my opinion, we were able to organize things and settle in nicely and have a very clean cabin because there's lots of storage.
Now, the walk-in closet being gone was definitely a concern going in, and we were impressed with the storage. But I think the one big change that a lot of people were looking for, and we're happy to hear about on this ship, was the shower curtain is gone.
Gone. You have a glass door.
Yes.
So nice.
It's kind of an interesting glass door and the way it works and the way it swings into the room. You got to kind of do a little bit of jumping and shuffling around to get in there. But at least when you're in there, you get lots of space. You don't have a shower curtain sticking to your backside.
Definitely the most spacious shower we've had on a Princess cruise.
Yes, so that was definitely a big reason for my thumbs up was the space in the shower.
Yeah, it even has the little shower bar down for your leg, ladies. That is very helpful when you're having to shave your legs on a cruise.
Yeah. Another thing about the cabin that was a thumbs up for me was the air conditioning. Now, this might seem like it'd be an odd thing, but I have found that the newer the ship I'm on, the harder it is to get lots of good air conditioning. The older ships were great for it. The new ships, not so much. This new ship, though, I was really impressed.
Yeah, we had no problem keeping our room nice and icy chilly, so it was wonderful for sleeping. We like to sleep in a cool room, but also when you come back from port on a hot day in the Caribbean sun, it's nice to have a good air-conditioned cabin.
Yeah, we were able to keep it. We had a balcony cabin, so the sun was coming in now and then. The door was open once in a while. We were able to keep it under 20 degrees Celsius, or that's close to about 70 Fahrenheit. And it was quite comfortable in there for sleeping, getting changed, everything else. So yeah, that was a thumbs up. It took a little bit to figure out how the unit worked to control the temperature, and you can actually control the fan speed in the cabin now.
Which is nice.
Yeah. So if you can't understand that, just do what I did. I went to the cabin steward. I said, "How does this thing work?" And he explained it to me, and it was fantastic. So
That's
definitely
right.
a big plus.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah. And overall cabin size, we were pretty impressed that we actually had two different cabins on this cruise because of the way it played out with having to change cabins. We had an inside and we had a balcony, so we had a chance to live in both spaces.
And we were quite happy with the size and the layout of our interior cabin. And of course, the balcony was even more spacious and a little bit better for sure. The one thing I wanted to mention too is that one thing Princess has done with their cabins is they upgraded the hair dryers that they provide in the room. And I used to not like the Princess hair dryers because they did not give you much heat and it took forever to dry my hair. Whereas now they have a professional grade hair dryer in your room and they work really well, very efficient. They're not connected into the drawer. They have their outlet that you can plug it in, and it gives you enough cord that you can stand up and do your hair or sit down at the makeup table. So I was very happy with the quality of the hair dryer also.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was very helpful for me too. Not at all. It gave me time to play with the air conditioning.
As I heated it up with the air dryer.
And that's what we thought of the cabin. So that was a positive experience on the Sun Princess. Okay, the next big thing for us on a cruise is entertainment. What's going on around the ship? How are the spaces laid out? Can you get even close to the venues when they're having something that you want to see happening in the evenings? And how'd you feel? Thumbs up or thumbs down for entertainment?
This is a hard one for me because there was things I really liked and things I really didn't like. So I have to go here.
I'm going thumbs down entertainment. And that's not to slight any of the entertainers and music on board.
The talent was wonderful.
Yes, if it was just talent, it was a thumbs up. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Thumbs up for the talent that was on board with us for sure.
And first, let's talk about the piazza. And I know entertainment can be very polarizing as far as people expect different things on the cruise, and our opinion might be different than how you feel about things.
Yeah,
so.
You might love how they do certain things and because that's the way you want to have your vacation, but for us personally, we might want things differently. So we'll tell you what we saw, and it may be a negative for us, maybe it's a positive for you.
So, the piazza. Let's start there because that has become the hub of this brand new ship. I feel with every generation of ship with Princess, we've moved more and more towards that being the main focus on the ship. And this one, definitely, that is the case.
There's always something going on there, whether that is a Zumba class in the morning or a trivia or a game show or you name it, it happens there. They do little 10-minute performances of aerial performances there. They have live music there. Can you think of even more stuff they have?
It feels like everything's going on.
Everything is going on. There's constantly something there.
There's acrobats, there's aerial, you name it. Whatever you could expect anywhere else around any other cruise ship, they're putting it into that piazza space.
Right.
Now, it's interesting. They've made that space bigger than any other ship.
Yes.
They've also added bench seating around the different levels. So it's 3 levels high.
Yes.
And they have this bench seating. So it can hold, I would say, several hundred people at best, I would say.
Yeah, maybe.
But that is where the problem lies, is that they push everybody to that space because everything's going on there.
So even though it holds a few hundred people, or maybe even 300 if we're being generous, when you're on a ship with over 4,000 passengers, it's still not big enough.
No, we often saw crowds that were 4, 5, 6 people deep trying to peek over other people to see what was going on in the piazza because there just isn't enough space to seat everybody on the ship.
One of the things they're doing, for instance, is if there's a performer playing in the crooners, they will pipe that sound from the crooners into the piazza and everywhere around. So you can be sitting somewhere or standing, most of the time you're standing, but you can't even see the performer. You don't know where it's coming from. And it's a little jarring, a little, I don't know. It wasn't peaceful, that's for sure.
And that kind of touches on the flaw of the whole piazza concept, is because everything is all around the piazza. You can't have a piano player in the Crooners bar and another musician somewhere else nearby, that it's either one or the other. Either the Crooners is going on or the piazza is going on.
Can't have both.
Yeah, and so and then on top of that, you add in multiple specialty dining venues, multiple bars, and it is a very, very noisy space.
Yeah, there was one time where we were thinking about doing a specialty dining for dinner right by the piazza, and we literally didn't book that restaurant because of the location, and we saw that there was game shows going on, and it wasn't sort of what we wanted for a formal night dining experience, to be in a part of a game show while we're trying to eat. So it's, it was a little interesting.
So there's lots of entertainment there. I just feel that it's just not the right space for some of that entertainment. If it's a small duo playing a guitar with kind of some subtle, love songs,
that works great.
But it's not the space, I think, for everything. Even some of the bigger game shows that you traditionally would have seen in the theaters before, they're there as well because they put this big electronic screen in the piazza.
Yeah, like Deal or No Deal was there, and there were hundreds of people standing to watch that, whereas it probably would have been better suited in a theater because there would have been enough people that it would have filled the theater to watch it.
So yeah, if the piazza concept is something that you've liked about Princess and like that change over the years, you're going to love this piazza. Mm-hmm. If you're one of those people that used to like the old piazzas that were smaller, more quaint, it was a quiet space to read a book or relax and hear music, you're not going to like this piazza.
When we first started cruising Princess, one of the things we loved about Princess was their piazza, and the main reason it's because every night there was some sort of music, live music there, whereas a couple we could go and dance, and we don't get to dance when we're at home. The only time we do that is when we're on a cruise, and those options are fewer and fewer and fewer now than what they ever were with Princess. And so for us, it's sort of a downgrade, but for some people that don't want to dance and they want to be a part of a game show, then maybe for them it's a positive.
And Princess has taken away the aft lounge on this class of ship, which means there's less of a reason to get people out of the piazza. So it feels like a lot of stuff's happening in a small space.
It felt very congested every day, most of the time.
So that was the piazza. And if you like the crowds and the noise, you're going to love it.
Yes.
And the other big venue that was a thumbs down reason for me on entertainment was the theater, the main theater. It's now called the Princess Arena.
It is a small theater or arena. I believe it holds less than...
I don't know how many people it holds, but it's definitely less than the other theaters.
Well, yes, it does. And so we only managed to see one production show just because it was always so popular and the crowds were so big. It was definitely standing room only. It wasn't large enough to accommodate the amount of people that wanted to go to the show. And there's a lot of around the theater seating. And like the one time that we did get to see a show, we were sort of watching it all sort of sideways, and so it wasn't a good experience for me.
Yeah, and if you watch our channel, we love the big theater shows. In fact, that we love Five Skies and rock opera, all the big historic Princess shows that have kind of made their mark in the cruise industry. They're gone on this ship because they don't even have the proper theater to have that type of event anymore.
Yeah.
So now they've got this round concept with a stage that comes out in the middle. So it's kind of this 360 concept, but they're kind of still making shows that you are best seen looking straight on, which only a few people can actually do in this theater. The rest of you look from the side. We showed up a half an hour early. We were almost sitting at the very top, 3 rows from the top of the theater. And there's a lot of people that showed up even 15 minutes before, and they couldn't even find a seat in the theater. Some people were saying that they were there an hour ahead of time just to get a seat.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a very small venue, and unfortunately, even if the talent is there, the shows, they felt like they had similar quality, some of those old Princess shows. It felt like it was in the wrong venue. I wanted to see it in a more traditional stage where everybody had a good view of what was going on.
Yes, for sure.
The dome, that space up on the front of the ship, it's not only for relaxing during the day, it's also for some entertainment.
That's right. Now, unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to see some of their Cirque du Soleil shows the week we were sailing. They were canceled. So we have heard that they're very popular, that they're wonderful, but there's a long line waiting to get in, and it's hard to get a seat there also. We can't talk about that because we didn't witness it. What we did participate in was silent disco up in the dome. We had a blast. It was fabulous, so much fun. We also went to like a regular nightclub. It turns into the nightclub each night in the end of the evening, and that was fun also.
Yeah, and I would have to say to that those experiences were modernized from previous experiences on Princess ships. The music was more modern. The dance club at night was almost like going to a rave. I almost felt too old to be there, if I'm being honest with you. But it was spectacular. The light show and what was going on, you just wanted to even be there just to see it all.
We had a wonderful time up there the times that we did go up there and do things.
And during our cruise, they also had a comedian up there one night. We didn't get a chance to see him up there, but we did have a chance to catch a captain's reception that was held up there.
Yeah, that was nice.
And we also had a chance to go up there and hear some music groups that were just playing on the stage during the evening and the afternoon.
Yes.
So it's a space that's well used, but again, like the theater, it feels like it's a little small. Now, I'm not sure how big a dome you can put on the front of the top of a ship, but I really wish it was bigger. It's pretty big as it is. It has multiple tiers and people can sit up, but it is definitely for the thousands of people on board. It feels like it gets filled pretty fast when there's something's going on there.
Yeah, true enough.
So the other thing that we wanted to talk about for entertainment was the music around the ship. And now we have, of course, O'Malley's Pub is on board this ship.
That's right. And so there is an Irish band on board. Now, we went to the pub one night for dinner when we thought we would see the Irish band, but they also had the piano player singing in there. So they're not just having the Irish band in there. They are rotating whatever musical acts they have on the ship, and they're all sort of getting a turn in that Irish pub, which kind of didn't feel the right vibe for us when we had the piano guy singing in the Irish pub. But anyways, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and the Irish pub is now bigger on this ship than it has been on the other ship, like the Enchanted Princess. Mm-hmm. It is at least 2 to 3 times the size. Mm-hmm. And that adds a lot more people, a lot more noise. The bar is a lot bigger for people to sit on the bar and order drinks. So there's a lot of noise and distractions going on. So the music that used to be the focus, say, on the Enchanted Princess with the Irish group, it seems to be washed out a little bit about everything else that's going on in the
Well,
space.
I think it worked well. We did later in the cruise get the opportunity to listen to the Irish band, and it worked well with them because it's a very loud, upbeat music that they're playing. Where it didn't work was the night when we were there and they had the soft romantic duo singing, Ed Sheeran's love songs and things like that, because you couldn't hear the singers over everybody talking and having a good time in the pub.
Yeah, in fact, the singers were even stopping at times between the songs and pointing at the speakers saying, "Can you hear us?" And we're like, barely.
Couldn't really hear her.
They've also moved some of the musical groups into Princess Live, which feels a little bit different than how I've seen them used on other ships.
That's true, but it worked. The Princess Live is also larger than what the Princess Live room is also larger than what it is on other cruise ships, and so there is a decent amount of space for people to sit down and watch and take part of things in there. So it worked well to listen to live music. We also saw a comedian there. We participated in a couple of trivia activities.
And so in Princess Live, you're going to see all the stuff that you would normally see in a Princess Live in there. I believe they had karaoke in there. They had trivia in there. They had some game shows as well in there. So like all that space is being used very similar to what it normally is. They've just thrown in a couple musical acts now and then in the mix as well. Mm-hmm. So the last thing I want to talk about entertainment was the availability of entertainment. Was there a lot of options to go to in the evening? And that's where I part of my thumbs down was that, because I felt there was less options for music around the ship.
Yeah, I believe because there seems to be less sort of lounge spaces, that there were less options, especially in the evening when you're trying to come out of dinner and you want to listen to live music somewhere. Generally, you'd go to the piazza and often there was a game show going on there, so you couldn't find live music there, and you'd look multiple places and it was scheduling difficult.
Yeah, in other ships, for example, you can go to the Wheelhouse Bar and you can catch a musical act. You can go to the Crown Grill Bar and hear a musician playing outside the bar. You could have went to the Vista Lounge in the back and you could have saw some music. All these venues have been moved and changed in a way that they're not conducive to having live music at them anymore. So you're kind of stuck with the Piazza, the pub, or possibly Princess Live, and that's all in that one area. So you couldn't really spread people out in the ship and go and enjoy kind of those cozy little corners and take in a musical act somewhere. You were either a part of the hustle and bustle or you weren't. And so that's what we thought about entertainment around the ship. And next, we're going to get into people's favorite category on a cruise, and that's the food. So the Sun Princess has so many options for food, probably more than I've ever seen any other cruise ship.
For sure.
And so, what'd you think, though? What do you give it, a thumbs up or a thumbs down for food on the Sun Princess? I guess I'll go thumbs up.
Yeah, wow. I was wondering what he would say for this one, but for me, it was a thumbs up.
I've got some challenges, but overall, I'll give it a thumbs up.
Very good.
So we're going to have to break it into different sections for food because there are different options. So let's go with the food that is included in your fare if you don't have any packages or pay for any specialty dining.
Okay.
So let's start with the main dining rooms.
I really enjoyed the main dining rooms on the Sun Princess. I thought that they had some nice quiet areas and they weren't overly crowded. We've gone to some main dining rooms where you feel like you're having dinner with strangers even though you're at a table for two because the table for twos are so close to you. I didn't feel that way in this dining room. I thought that they had little nooks and crannies throughout, and it was, first of all, a very pretty dining room and spacious. But when it comes to the actual food, I thought the menus have been sort of upgraded and there's been a few more options added on. You still get most of your Princess favorites, like I was able to have my creme brulee that I love on Princess, but they also had a few extra options than what I've seen on other ships.
Yeah, I definitely think the MDR layout feels improved. I'm not sure square footage if it's any bigger or smaller than any other Princess ship, but it definitely feels bigger just from the way it's laid out. There seems to be more space between all the tables and opportunities to kind of dine without feeling like you're crowded all into the same space. So I think the two main dining rooms were a big improvement on this ship. Mm-hmm. So the next thing we want to talk about with food is the buffet, which is now on a different deck than it is. It's no longer on the Lido deck. It's on Deck 9.
Deck 9 buffet. So my first impressions of the buffet was not great, to be honest with you. Going to the eatery, I thought, wow, this is small. And that's definitely sort of the feeling that I had. But when I actually used it, I thought it was efficient and worked well. They have staff serving you the whole time. But I never had to wait for a staff to serve me. There was constantly staff available to help get you your food. But my one sort of note to take is that I'm used to the buffets that Princess has, for instance, on the Enchanted, that are very large and there's lots of selection. I would say you had less selection of food options because the actual buffet itself inside the eatery is small. Now there's other venues outside like Mr. Canucks talked about earlier for pizza and burgers and stuff like that, but interior of the eatery was tiny.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned when I heard that Princess was going to be serving, and I mean everything. Like, you can't go up and get even a salad or anything by yourself. They're going to give you everything. I was concerned about portion size. How much are they going to give me? I'm also very picky. When I go to a casserole dish, I might want more vegetables and meat, and I can kind of scoop it out the way I want. You lose kind of that control, but I was really impressed with how many people were staffing the buffet, and I didn't have to wait. I would go up and there'd be like 4 or 5 people in line. I'm thinking, this is going to take a while. It didn't. That they were going one person after another and sometimes helping 2 or 3 people at the same time. It wasn't just one person at a time. So it was staffed really well. They had some new features too, that if you were there and there wasn't food being prepared or it was even really busy, they had a whole section of grab and go. So that had cookies, it had sandwiches, it had desserts, it had salads, it had wraps. So if you wanted just to grab something and take it back to your cabin or back to a lounger, that was an easy option as well.
Very good, yes.
So yeah, the buffet kind of surprised me because it was small and they were serving me and I thought that was going to lead to just congestion. It actually wasn't all that bad.
Right.
And then you throw in those venues that are on the outside in the promenade.
Right. So like we said, there's pizza and burgers outside, ice cream also. But then in behind the eatery, do you want to talk about that right now?
Yep.
Is the all-American Diner. Now that is open. The hours that it is open depends on whether it's a port day or a sea day. It opened at 11 a.m. in the morning on our sea days and 1 p.m. in the afternoon on our port days. But that's a sit-down restaurant. It's totally included. It's not an extra charge. You don't need to have any sort of package to go there. And it had a very good menu, in my opinion, and we had a fabulous meal there.
Yeah, you can get everything from chicken wings to burgers to fish and chips to mac and cheese. You can even get tater tots if you want. So it's got a little bit of everything, and they serve you right at the table with the menu. So it didn't seem that busy. There's a bit of a lineup when they first opened the doors, but once that initial rush was done, there was lots of space.
I felt like it was a very large venue, and so there was lots of space to get in there, and it worked well, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a nice improvement, a nice opportunity to have kind of a sit-down option for people that didn't have any extra packages and want to pay for that upsell. It was kind of a nice addition to the buffet area.
Exactly.
Worked really well. So the next set of food venues can be found up on the Lido deck, which feels a little bit different because the buffet is gone, and half of that deck has actually got like cabins or something in it.
Yeah, where the buffet would be is cabins.
But and it's interesting because a lot of the venues that are up there, some of them are new, and some of them are repeats of what you find on the promenade down by the buffet. So you kind of got some little bit of duplicate venues there.
So there is a sort of burger joint up there again, and there is another pizza place up there like Slice Pizza.
Gone is the Salty Dog.
Right.
So now they've just called it the Lido Grill, or
That's
they call it the Lido Taco Place, for example. They had tacos and shawarma. They have the Lido Greens, which is where you can get the salad, the Lido Bars. So they kind of call Lido, and then whatever the venue is, gone are like the names. I guess it's still the Lido Slice, I think, for pizza. So they had all those venues all around the Lido deck, and I never really found them, very busy, even on a sea day. You're able to walk up and get what you wanted.
Again, I felt like the food service was very well staffed throughout our voyage.
Yeah, one new addition that we really liked was the shawarma that was available.
So good.
Wow.
Definitely try it out, guys. I so enjoyed it.
I think it was the winner of all the new food venues that are included with your fare. I would say the shawarma was a big plus, and even be able to get chicken tacos there as well, for example.
Yes.
It was definitely a nice place to be. The only thing I had a little bit of exception, there's lots of seating there, but a lot of people were taking food back to their loungers, so you had kind of that messy loungers and plates and food all over the place, and people eating everywhere, so that was a little bit off-putting. But if you did go sit at the tables, there was lots of tables available. I don't think we ever had to wait and find a table when we were eating on the Lido deck.
That's true.
And a lot of those tables are also uncovered areas, so you're not sitting out in the full sun. You do get a little bit of shade and a breeze there, so that kind of offsets the idea of not being able to get into the buffet's air conditioning if you want to eat up on the Lido deck.
True.
So all in all, I think the Lido was a win.
Yes, I agree.
And so we will now get into the specialty dining. And I do believe that there are at least 9 specialty dining options.
There are a lot. So again, we were only there for a 7-day cruise, so we didn't try them all. We tried some of our favorites, like the Catch by Rudy's, Crown Grill, Sabatini's, but we tried a couple of few ones. We did the Butcher Block by Dario.
You went to Umai Hot Pot, which is in the Tapanaki area, but it's a separate venue altogether.
Yeah, so there are lots of options, and I will say they've also expanded their menus.
And if you have the Princess Premier package, then you have unlimited specialty dining, so you can try all these different venues out if you can manage to squeeze them all in, because there's so many of them. But and also if you were on this ship in the Mediterranean, they've all been moved around the ship. You're going to have to go to different spots to find them. I think they moved over half of them and put them in different spots. So that's kind of interesting in itself. But overall, they're very similar experiences to other Princess ships. It's kind of a next level service and quality of food. But there are a lot of them. And they do take up a lot of space in the ship that I'm worried that is some of the reason I may have lost things like the lounges, because there is so many specialty dining that...
I was just going to say that was a complaint we've heard people that we were traveling with or that we met on our travels saying that they felt like there was too much space allotted for specialty dining and not enough common space.
Yep. And on top of the specialty dining, where the steakhouses and all those things we mentioned, there's also the 2 what they call casual dining. And that is your Alfredo's Pizzeria and your pub experience, or O'Malley's Pub.
That's right.
So in those locations, you go there, you can pay a la carte if you want to. If you don't have a package, you can go there, and I believe if you have the Plus package, you can use those venues twice.
Yes.
And if you have the Premier package, then you can have unlimited those as well.
That's right.
So, we did try both of those out. They took a couple items actually off of O'Malley's.
Yeah, they took my favorite items off.
They took the stew away. So, and it's a really complicated situation in the pub, because a lot of people go there to have a drink and listen to music. Some people go there to eat, and you're trying to share this space. So there's people that are sitting at tables having nothing to eat, and people coming in wanting to have a meal, and there's people that aren't. It's kind of a little bit messy. I kind of wish they do like they did on the Wheelhouse Bar on the Emerald Princess, where you have a space that is like where the Salty
For
Dog
people
was.
to eat, and then a space.
A space for listening to music and having drinks, and then that way that people would always have an opportunity to kind of have one or the other.
That's true.
That would have been a nice option. And then Alfredo's did not disappoint. It was the best pizza on the ship. Even though there's 3 different spots you can get pizza, I tried them all, and I would have to say that Alfredo's was the best pizza on the ship. And there is one piece of that menu there that's an upcharge of $12, that even if you have the Premier package, it doesn't cover that pizza upcharge of $12.
That's right.
So that's another options there. And I feel that the menu there was almost identical to what it was on other ships.
I think it was,
They haven't really changed much there. And then beyond that, there's a new level of kind of higher end. There's an experience called Spellbound. On other ships, there's the 360 experience. These are like these next level specialty dining that have kind of this big theme. Sometimes it's usually an entire evening of eating,
event.
drinking. It's more of that than it is an event. We didn't experience any of those. The comments we heard from other people was, is it worth the money? Not really, but was it a great experience? Yes. So it's kind of a back and forth. You're paying for the experience as much as you are the food and the drink that you're having.
For sure.
And then that's available on Princess as well. There was also a dining option that we couldn't get to, that people can only get to if they have the sanctuary access. There's a whole dining room just for people that have sanctuary suites.
Again, sort of going back to that ship within a ship experience, right?
Yeah. And we also did try the room service.
We did.
I feel every time we got on Princess ship, there's like 1 or 2 less items than the time before.
Yeah, it keeps getting smaller and smaller, your options that you can get, whether that comes from cocktails or food items that you're trying to order. There's less and less items every time we sail with Princess, unfortunately.
That takes us a little bit into the app as well, because the app allows you to order food anywhere on the ship, and we did take advantage of that. One night we're up at one of the bars, and we ordered cheesecake, for example, and then other times we enter a cabin, we ordered a couple of drinks. So, somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes seemed to be the average of what it was for us to get service around the ship.
That's right.
So the app seems to still work pretty well. One odd thing about the app is they can bring the food anywhere in the ship, but the one place it didn't go to was the dome.
It won't bring you a drink in the dome.
So we thought that was a little bit strange, considering that was a new place where a lot of people wanted to go hang out.
Yeah.
In saying that there's 2 bars near the dome, and they would bring food nearby if you wanted to just walk over to another area. But yeah, so that is the food around the ship. So I'm glad we both had a plus on that one.
Yeah, we loved the food on Princess for sure.
Yes, I gained 7 pounds.
I'm not telling you what I gained.
So that's how much I like the food.
We are busy now trying to get rid of that Princess food weight.
Okay, so those are the 4 big categories that we thought we'd sit down and explain to you since we've just been off this ship. And all in all, when you consider your experience in the Sun Princess, do you think you would sail on this ship again? Here we go, the final plus, thumbs up or plus down.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, looks like you're going alone.
I'm going solo. If you've been following us for a while, you know that we do appreciate the small ship. We fell in love with the Volendam, for instance, this spring with how small it was and quiet and that sort of thing. But I love the new things that Princess has to offer too, and I would go back on the Princess ship just to experience the dome. One thing we didn't mention yet in this video is the Good Spirits Bar. It's been a venue that I have enjoyed on past, but they have upped it and improved it, and it's phenomenal in the Sun Princess, and we enjoyed going there. We had great service and great entertainment there. So yes, I would definitely go back and cruise on the Sun Princess again.
And for me, a big part of why I'm not keen on going back on the Sun Princess is, first of all, I'm not a fan of the big crazy piazza and all the hustle bustle. I like a ship that's more spread out. The smaller ships, more contemporary feel to a cruise ship, little music venues tucked in here and there that I can kind of get away from the crowd. So I didn't feel like I had that option as much on this ship. I'm also not a big fan of change. So I didn't like the buffet till you moved. I definitely didn't like the change to the main theater. For me, the main theater shows the music around the ship. And those things are kind of, I like those about the older Princess ships. And I really love I fell in love with Five Skies and those big production shows. I feel like I didn't get them. So I kind of feel like the way I cruise, it's not really the ship for me.
You have a point. I was definitely very disappointed with the arena, but everything else I loved.
Yeah. And if you like to eat, you love lots of entertainment in the piazza and love the hustle and the crowds and all that, then you're going to love this ship. This ship is definitely a ship for a lot of people, and a lot of people that we spoke to loved it. And it's kind of funny. We had kind of a mixed reaction. We spoke to a lot of people on board about the pluses or minuses, or people were asking us, what do you think? Do you like this or not like it? And they were waiting to see.
Yeah.
And some people were like, I'm not a big fan of it. And some people were saying, oh, I like it. I just have to get used to it because it's all brand new, right?
Yeah.
So
It takes a while to adapt and accept change. We know Princess, we love Princess, so yeah.
yeah. I think if you're a diehard Princess person that wanted to see a new ship and wanted something different from the old ships, you're definitely going to get that, and you're going to really enjoy it. I think it's also going to be a type of ship that may bring new people to Princess. It's kind of a different feel. The music around the ship is more modern. The ship itself is more modern. It feels like they're kind of moving into the next generation with this ship as well.
For sure.
So for those people like me that don't like change, yeah. But we still got all the other Princess ships to still cruise on, so
Embrace it. It was a good time, and you will have a wonderful time. But yes, there are some differences.
and there you go. We'll see if any of these little twerks and there you go. We'll see whether any of these quirks get worked out when the Star Princess comes out, because it's the same class of ship. So we'll see how much is the same and how much they've learned from this and change it up again.
Rumor has it that they're going to make the pub even bigger because they know that it's still not big enough. Wow.
And so that's our experience on the Sun Princess. If you want to see more detail of what it's like day to day on the ship, then be sure to watch for our vlog series. We're going to have a vlog for every single day on the ship. So there'll be 7 of them coming out. And you'll be able to see what we did literally every single day on the ship, us walking around the ship, seeing what the crowds are like and kind of feeling things out for the first time. You can kind of get that first-hand experience as if you're on the ship. So watch for those vlogs coming out in the next little while. And if you have any questions at all, then please put them in the comment section below. Maybe you're going on the Sun Princess and there's something we didn't cover, then definitely put it down below,
Yeah,
and we will be
please.
sure to help you out if we can.
Yes, and please help us out by liking and subscribing to the channel. That helps us a lot.
For sure. And if you're going on a Sun Princess cruise, then have a wonderful time.